It is Retroview time, Minties. Today I'm going to be talking about the Invincible Ultimate Collection hardcovers from Image Comics, so please stay tuned. Alright, so let's get started with, of course, Volume 1. We've got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to try to do it without giving away any spoilers. This is normally where I give shout-outs for people that have been wanting me to do these retro views, but there's been such a demand for Invincible over the last couple of years that I really couldn't give just one or two people credit, so this goes out to everybody that has been wanting to see this. I love doing retro views, and if you like watching them, think about subscribing to this channel. We put out videos every day, and retro views is one of those videos that I like to do. Now, without going any further, let's check out what Invincible Ultimate Collections are. So let's get started with Volume 1. All of these, by the way, have dust jackets. We will look at another one with the dust jacket. So, there's an introduction in this volume by Brian Michael Bendis. These books are available in trade paperback. There is a library edition of these books available. I don't think they've gone through the whole series, but I could be wrong. This is just the way that I like to collect them because they're oversized hardcovers, and I love oversized artwork. There are also 3 compendiums that make up the entire series, both in softcover, and I think Skybound Studios sells the hardcover collections. We're going to go through this really quick and then talk a little bit about what this is. And then there, like I mentioned, there are several trade paperbacks available. All of these, the good news is, all of these volumes up here that I've shown are all still available. They are all still in print. So this is Eric Larson helping out on artwork. That's why it looks a little bit different. And there's my boy Savage Dragon and all these Eric Larson characters showing up. This is all Volume 1. All of these books range from 320 pages all the way up to 400 plus pages. They all have extras in the back, of course. And even looking at the extras, I have to be careful not to spoil anything, but there's several sketches and covers in the back because even the trade paperbacks have original covers as well. There's Science Dog. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plot and the creators as we go on. I just wanted to show off what all these books have. Yeah, so you have sketches, character designs. That's cute. Invincible pals. And then the script for number 1. I think this one's a lot bigger, too, than the normal ones. This one's probably right around 400 pages for a Volume 1. And this is how I started reading them. Moving on to Book 2. The books range in price from $34.99 all the way up to $39.99. As I mentioned, they all have a dust jacket. And underneath the dust jacket, they all look the same. They have a black leather look to it. And then, of course, the words Invincible in here. And I believe I just put this one in upside down. See? The power of editing. There's Invincible up there. I could cut this, but you know what? Let's just leave it. Most of them come with an introduction, the cover pages on the left-hand side, and then you get to the main meat of the story of the issues within the pages. So, well, let's talk about the creators first. The creators of Invincible are Robert Kirkman, who probably most of you are familiar with because he had this series called The Walking Dead, and of course that turned into a TV series. And he's kind of developed his own little, empire, I guess, over at Image. This guy, they found him at Image. I did an interview with Eric Larson, if you want to check out that story, last week, or actually this week. So what happened was he took his ideas over to Image, and Image decided to, print some of his books. I believe Battle Pope was one of those ideas. And then, of course, The Walking Dead. And that is what he is known for. He also created Outcast and this book, and then even little spin-offs from this book. So then we have Cory Walker. Cory Walker is the co-creator of Invincible because he literally drew the first, I want to say 7 issues of Invincible. And then stepped in this guy right here. This phenomenal artist named Ryan Ottley, who has now taken over Amazing Spider-Man. And Ryan Ottley and Cory Walker, Cory Walker does come back from time to time. But mainly it is Ryan Ottley keeping a monthly schedule, which is freaking insane. And here's all the extras in the back before we look at Volume 3. And together with Robert Kirkman, they put out this monthly book for 144 issues until Kirkman said, all right, let's end this series. So let's move on to Volume 3. And here we have Volume 3. I'm not a monster. I usually take off my dust jackets when I read them, but because we're doing this overview, I just wanted to keep them on. The other person I haven't talked about that contributed early on to the story of Invincible is this colorist. His name is Bill Crabtree. And he's the one that's doing the colors because I think the colors are one of the biggest selling points to me of Invincible. And it is rough and freaking violent, and I love it. Now that we've gone through Volume 3, let's talk about the story when we're looking at Volume 4 and who Invincible is. But I just wanted to showcase the artwork. I'm trying not to give spoilers away, so I've already edited some parts out that I'm like, I can't show that. Because it's really, really difficult to talk about this damn book without giving spoilers away. Because for anybody that has read it, you know damn and well that the coolest parts about Invincible are those amazing twists and plot turns that, yeah, it would ruin it for somebody that has never read it before. So I'm trying to be cautious. All right, let's move on to Volume 4. So who is Invincible? What is it? What's it about? So it's about this character named Mark Grayson. Mark is your teenager that goes to high school. He's not like Peter Parker. He's not a dork or somebody that gets picked on. He's kind of like an average guy. The only difference about Mark is that his father, Nolan Grayson, happens to be a superhero, kind of like a Superman character known as the Omni-Man. And much like Superman, Omni-Man comes from a different planet. He comes from a planet called Voltrum. So his people are known as the Voltrumites, and there's a huge lot of story to do with them that takes Mark out to space much later on, and having to deal with that. There's also a Justice League type of group here on Earth known as the Guardians of the Globe. So there's like a Thor-like character, there's a Wonder Woman type character. It's pretty interesting. He takes a lot of those tropes and gives them twist. They're all led by the government. They all know he's an alien from another planet, and his planet explored different worlds, and that's how he ended up here on Earth. And he fell in love with Earth, decided to stay here, marry, and have a family. And his mom, Deborah, has known about this. So one day, Mark, when he's throwing out the trash, throws the trash like miles away and realizes, oh, shit, I think I'm also a superhero. Cool. And that's kind of how he takes it. He takes it like a young guy would take being a superhero. I can fly. I'm pretty invulnerable. And eventually there are a lot of twists that come into this. Like at first, you know, we are just getting to know Mark. We're getting to know all these other supporting characters that are basically in high school. But there are secrets and plot turns that the story takes that eventually take us out of Earth. But for the most part, that's practically it at first. It is pretty much a deconstruction of the superhero comics is what Robert Kirkman is doing. And he takes a lot of the tropes, a lot of the superhero tropes, and kind of does his own little twist on them. For example, the character of Mark, you know, he very well could be a Spider-Man character. This, honestly, the way this starts out reminds me a lot of the way that Bendis wrote Ultimate Spider-Man. In that, hey, get to know me, I'm a teenager with powers. And he does all these tropes in here. Like there's the characters known as the teen, something like that. That are basically the Teen Titans. There's a character that's like Cyborg known as Robot. There's a character like Starfire that's known as Eve. And actually, Eve goes to his school, so you already have drama. He's like, hey, I know you from somewhere, don't I? You go to my high school. Yeah. And as you can tell, the story kind of matures. And Mark matures, right? He leaves Earth because, like I said, plenty of plot happens where I can't get into details about, and he is forced to leave Earth. But not only does the plot mature, but Ryan Ottley's freaking artwork gets so much better. And the colors start evolving into something completely different and beautiful. And to notice this as you're reading it is just a special freaking treat. Like, going back and reading a bunch of those issues, because I've read this series a couple of times. And honestly, this is the way that I've read it. Like, I used to have to wait every freaking few months, or I'm sorry, every year, to read them and catch up in this format, avoiding all kinds of spoilers, even when it got to its ending. Because there is a lot of things that happen in Invincible. Just about every one of these hardcovers that I have up there have some kind of plot twist or something horrible that happens in his life. And Jesus, it is violent and brutal. This is coming from a guy that reads Berserk, and and I'm okay with that. And honestly, it's not for the faint of heart, right? But I freaking love it. And I know there's several people that do, that love that artwork, that love the violence, that loves all the bad crap that happens. Like I said, there's a lot of plot twists in here. At this moment, if you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, because, well, there's videos out every day on this channel. And if you have any suggestions for retro views, please leave those comments down below. But those plot twists are very important to keep the movement of the story, to keep you hooked, not to just clickbait you into reading something else, to read another month of Invincible, but for you to be completely hooked and care about these characters, even the supporting cast, even the Guardians of the Globe, who are like the Justice League, even Cecil, who's kind of like his Professor X, his mentor in a way. Kirkman does a really good job. Like, I know I've gone on about how I really don't care for Walking Dead, and I know a lot of you all love it. Let's move on to 8. You're probably asking yourself, why is there a new Invincible on the cover? Well, one way to find out. But yes, I know it sounds blasphemous, and I've said it before, but The Walking Dead, I never really cared for this story. I would read it. I own all the hardcovers. It's fun, but it's not something that I really looked forward to reading every month. And it was basically because I didn't care about the characters. So when characters were dying left and right, I was like, oh well. Sorry, I'm not going to spoil that for anybody, but sorry, I really didn't, get attached to your character. But when things happened in this book, in this series, I would be pissed. I remember there were several times when some characters would die that I was really attached to, or that I just grew to love, that I hated at first. I would be pissed. I would be like, come on, Kirkman, at least keep so-and-so alive, or don't do this to poor Mark. And I think that's what makes a good story. It's when you start caring about characters like that. Whenever you catch yourself saying, that's not fair, that's not cool, why would you do that? So it means that you're already invested in this supporting cast and what happens to them. And there is a lot of bullshit that happens in this book. And it's rough to look at times. And it's rough to keep reading at times, but man, it's worth it. This is a pretty interesting one. The spine, for some reason, Invincible is written in purple instead of the usual yellow. And I've seen some people make custom dust jackets just to make it match the yellow dust jackets. Maybe it was some kind of mistake by the printer, but I'm okay with my copy just staying purple. Now we're getting down to the last 3 volumes, and I gotta be really careful with how I flip through here, because a lot of rough shit happens in Mark's life to his supporting cast, like Alan the Alien. I can't even say names or who they are. There's a lot of bad things that happen, so I gotta be careful with how I flip through here. But it was just nice growing with these characters, and it was an amazing ride. And I remember when he announced that it was over, that he was going to end it, I was upset, because it was one of my fun comics that I would read every year, and I would look forward to these hardcovers every year. Hey, there's Brit. This is the penultimate hardcover. So Invincible has gone through a lot of arcs, right? It's not just like, oh, a guy gets to know his power. Oh, a guy gets to go to space and save his Viltrumite race. They're like Kryptonians, right? Except they're really messed up in the head. But it's not just that. There's a lot of things that make you think, oh, damn, that was good. Yeah, by now, you can see probably Ryan Otley drawing some, and then this is Corey Walker. One of the things I will say about these collections is that they don't collect everything. Like, there's a Brit miniseries, there's a Guardians of the Globe series. Those, were co-written by Robert Kirkman. Here, let's flip through here instead, because I love these extras in the back. I love his sketches. He starts showing off, Ryan Otley does, sketches that he's drawn for people. Of course, he's got to add blood because he's known for the violence and the over-the-topness of it used in Invincible. Where was I? I think I had a point to all this. Oh, I said I had to be careful. Oh, that's what it was. Not everything is collected. All the issues, all the ongoing issues are collected. But for example, Kirkman's character belongs to him, right? It doesn't belong to Image. So he appears in the pages of Marvel Team Up. Oh, it's just another issue that I got signed by him when he lived here in Kentucky. And yes, these are the covers to the trade paperbacks that I mentioned. That I love that they put all the way in the back. Now that we're getting towards the end of these books, you may or may not have noticed that there is a different colorist. The colorist now is Nathan Fairbairn. I think his colors are freaking awesome, though. They're just as good as Crabtree's. Nathan Fairbairn, you may have heard me talk about when I was mentioning Lake of Fire, because he's one of the co-creators of that book. The very last volume, so we got to be careful. So it's not like you're missing out on anything if you just get the hardcovers. But if you want to read about the Guardians of the Globe, there are other series. There's a series called Tech Jacket, which is actually where Mark or Invincible first appeared. Also written by Robert Kirkman. It's like a Guyver anime-ish kind of story. Like I mentioned, the Guardians of the Globe and Brit. Brit had his own series for a while. The Astonishing Wolfman. Yeah, he makes an appearance here. But, I mean, if you want to see, like, this world building that he does, and you might want to check out those series, this is what I love about Invincible. It's a fun fucking read. That's the only way I can describe it. It's, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened. That's awesome. It's the stuff that I would watch anime for. And not all anime is senseless violence, but when I was a kid, it's the stuff that I went to see what we knew as Jap animation back then. That's why I would watch it. I want to see violence. I want to see gore. I want to see dudes' spines ripped out of their body and the dude whipping the other dude with his own spine, Mortal Kombat style. Yeah, that's, I don't know. I guess I never outgrew that because I still enjoy things like this. But there's also a deep story in there. There's a moving story. There's a lot of powerful and shocking moments in this series. All right, that was enough of flipping through this book. As far as the builds of the books, let's look at another volume. They all have this thick, glossy paper that makes the colors really pop out. I love that about this type of paper. And even though they all have sewn binding, some of them, for some reason, are glued at the bottom, so there's really not an inner spine, while others don't have that glue and actually have a inner spine that can flex. Now, if you're interested in any of these books, because like I said, they're still in print, check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. That was all 12 hardcovers. I hope I wasn't able to give too much of the story away by flipping through those pages, but believe me, if you've never read this, you are in for a treat. Leave those comments down below if you've read it, if you love it, if this is one of your favorite series, or if you've tried to read it and it wasn't for you. Regardless, leave those comments down below. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. We put out videos every day. Ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. And speaking of live, again, I want to remind everybody I will be interviewing Steve Geppi from Diamond Comics Tuesday, May 26th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would love for you all to join us for that live interview. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Please, everybody, remember to stay healthy, stay safe, and much love to all of you.